is not forever. Even the world dies. Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we're here for another poetry discussion, which will appear in two playlists here on the channel. Number one being the poetry discussion playlist, now cruising towards 800 videos strong, and number two being the Dark Academia playlist. How is Ozymandias a dark academic text? Well, we will get into that, but I do have to say this before we get started even, because I imagine there are probably a number of people who feel the same way. I can't stand this poem. I hate this poem. I hate this poem with a passion. I hate this poem. It's one of those poems that basically every literature class I ever took, I had to read and I had to write a paper about, and it just isn't a great poem. I can't stand it, but one thing that makes this poem infinitely more interesting, in my opinion, is not to simply try to extract the sort of base layer of this poem, but instead to run this same poem through different filters. Read this poem as a dark academic text. Read this poem as a nihilistic text. Read this poem through the lens of new criticism. I think that this poem does provide itself in very interesting ways towards those ends. Now, the poem, Ozymandias, reads as such. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare. The lone and level sands stretch far away. So, what do we have here? We have a speaker telling us of a traveler that he met that told him about this statue of Ramses II, as we are told through anyone who has ever written anything about this poem over and over and over again. It's Ramses II. You have to know that. You have to say that. It is legally binding. So what's interesting here from a dark academic perspective? Well, there is the focus on the decrepit. The statue of Ramses. What could be more rustic being part of the aesthetic of dark academia? What could be more rustic than a collapsing statue? But I think the most interesting bit of this, if we are looking at this from a dark academic perspective, darker themes and academia as a way of life, kind of two elements I think that you can kind of extract from dark academia. Dark themes and academia, intelligentsia perhaps, as a way of life. Scholarship, academia, the pursuit of knowledge. Is there anything really that could be more visually representative of that search than archaeology? In a special, ironic twist, what is archaeology? What are we trying to figure out? when we go digging through the sands. Who lived here? We are figuring things out about ourselves of prior epoch. I think that the dark academics have a bent towards the humanities. The humanities are largely a study of the self, kind of a study of our kind, but we are told through the humanities that we're all the same, right? So studying any one of us is studying all of us. Archaeology is reconstructing meaning and hopefully truth from the artifacts that you have. You will never find all of the artifacts. You will never read all of the books. You will never find all of the poems. You will never run your grubby little fingers over all of the short stories, no matter how hard it is that you try. You have to build your theory of history, your theory of literature from the bits that you have, from what it is onto which you can grab and hold and carry with you. Also, much like most scholarship, what we have here is the speaker. It's a story of a story. The speaker is telling us, hey, I met this guy. This guy told me. Now I'm telling you. It's a story of a story. Scholarship builds on scholarship. Very rarely does scholarship build on the actual text. You pick up some scholarship on Hemingway. A book of essays on Hemingway. Those essays are going to reference other essays on Hemingway. They're going to reference other papers written about Ernest Hemingway's stories. It is thought. So was it Isaac Newton from whom the phrase "I stood on the shoulders of giants" springs? That is largely the academic pursuit. Hemingway writes a story. John Smith writes a paper on Hemingway. You then have a deeper understanding of that Hemingway, but you think Mr. Smith, tad bit wrong. So when you write your paper, you reference Mr. Smith, bop, 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 bop. Now, later, Shirley reads your paper and thinks that, oh, well, Mr. Smith had something, and you've got something, but I think it's slightly wrong in this direction. All of a sudden, bing, bang, boom, writing about something, writing about something, writing about something. That is largely what a lot of scholarship is. And we would be remiss when talking this much about scholarship, when talking this much about the act of literature itself, if we did not point out an irony where one stands. This phrase, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." This is ironic because it has two meanings. When this was written, when that statue was whole and beautiful and massive, that despair was saying, look at what I've done. Even if you were mighty, I am mightier yet. Despair at my might. Be sad that I am so great. But now, when this poem is being said, that's not what the despair means. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look at this destroyed statue. ye mighty, and despair. Despair not at my greatness, despair because even civilizations are mortal. Despair because it does not matter what it is that you build, it will be gone. That is a great irony. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this with other people. If you love literature, that's all I do here, so consider hitting the subscribe button. And there are 2 playlists and 1 video on the screen that YouTube thinks you will enjoy, so humor our AI overlords and click on some of that stuff. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.